Fortnite gets sued once again, and more coming up on today's episode of the Lace and Tech News. Hey, Gadget here. You're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the Lace and Tech News. My name is Taylor Merrick, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss out on the latest. And if you've been here for a while and you're enjoying the show, be sure to share this episode with a friend. It wouldn't be possible without your listenership and you sharing it, so feel free to do so. Back after a long weekend off, none of which was my choice. I guess when you get sick, and you can probably still hear some of the remnants of it. I'm still getting over a cough, but hopefully it wasn't too bad this fall season, I guess, here in the northern hemisphere. The cold is making its rounds once again, so I don't know, keep up on your vitamin C. That's your PSA announcement, and do what you can to stay healthy and avoid the flu. And if you do get the flu, well, make sure you try and treat it as soon as you can, doing what you usually do to beat the common cold. But yeah, anyways, we got a great show lined up today, but it's still a bit a shorter one. We'll be taking a look at, well, Epic Games specifically getting sued once again over for by far the stupidest reason I've ever heard. So obviously, because everybody else is talking about it, I have to talk about it, and I have to share my 2 cents, because this is getting out of hand. This is wildly ridiculous and stupid, but you'll be hearing about that more just a minute. We'll also be taking a look at, well, iTunes, a once revolutionary app, is now gone in the latest Mac update. And finally, we'll be taking a look at MSI's affordable Alpha 15 gaming laptop goes all AMD with the Radeon RX 5500, Ryzen 7, and FreeSync. All that and more. But before we can, let's take a look back on today in tech history. Okay, today is October 7th, 2019. On this day in 1954, IBM researchers modify an existing Model 604 vacuum tube calculator to use transistors. This experiment didn't shrink the desk-sized machine nor really make it any faster, but it did use only 5% of the power the vacuum tube-based design did. See, case in point, transistors worked and were more efficient. Encouraged by the successful experiment, IBM introduced the first commercial transistor calculator 4 years later, dubbed the Model 608. Also, on this day in 1952, American inventors Norman Joseph Woodland and Bernard Silver are granted U.S. patent number 2,612,994 for classifying apparatus and method described as article classification through the medium of identifying patterns. Now, you probably have no idea what exactly that means. Well, of course, today we better know these identifying patterns, air quotes, as barcodes. Woodland and Silver eventually sold their patent for only $15,000, but were later inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame. See, barcodes were first used commercially in 1966, and it rapidly developed into, well, by 1970s, there was a requirement to have some sort of industry standard set. A company called Logicon Inc. created the Universal Grocery Products Identification Code, or UGPIC for short, in order to implement the barcode throughout the retail industry. So later on, it was transformed into the UPC, or the Universal Product Code Symbol Set, which is still used in the United States of America. The first piece of equipment, trivia fact, using UPC was installed in a Marsh's supermarket in Ohio, and the first product checked out using a barcode was a Wrigley's Juicy Fruit Chewing Gum on June 26, 1974. So, in case you want to surprise somebody with some fun facts, there you have it. Finally, on this day in history, the Computer Bowl begins back in 1988. So it's the first round of the Computer Bowl, an annual televised game show of computer trivia pitting the gurus of the East versus the wizards of the West. Mitch Kapoor and Bill Joy were the MVPs, winning a place on the All-Star team. If you want to learn more about the Computer Bowl, well, you got this incredible tool called a search engine at your fingertips. Google, Yahoo, whatever you want to Bing it as Bing you later, and you can look it up and let me know what you thought about the computer bowl. With that out of the way, let's head on over to today's feature story. Okay, well, if you want to see my excited face, head on over to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. Hang on with me just 1 minute. I tell you, being sick is not fun at all. So, yeah, if you want to see the video of the show, like I said, there you go. Epic Games is sued for, apparently, it's as stupid as it gets, is coming to us from USA Today. I saw it on Fox News and everywhere else that you apparently get mainstream news from, is getting sued for not warning parents that Fortnite is allegedly as addictive as cocaine. That's a stretch of the imagination by any coherent, common-speaking person who isn't on cocaine. But I digress. Let's actually see what the meat of this article goes into. Roughly 250 million mostly obsessed gamers are battling it out in Fortnite. There's a darn decent chance kids you know are among them. The Montreal-based law firm launched a proposed class action in Canada on behalf of, quote, 2 Quebec parents who claim that Fortnite publisher Epic Games need to pay the price for a third-person shooter they allege is as addictive and potentially harmful as cocaine. The firm, Carlex Legal, represents plaintiffs who are identified only by their initials FN and JZ. They are the parents of a 10 and 15-year-old, respectively. Written in French, the legal action alleges that when a person is engaged in Fortnite for a long period, the player's brain releases the pleasure hormone, dopamine, and that Fortnite was developed by psychologists, statisticians, and others over 4 years to develop the most addictive game possible. Also, that Epic could reap lucrative profits. An Epic spokesperson said the company does not comment on ongoing litigation. Though Fortnite is free to play, kids spend gobs of real money in purchasing the in-game currency V-Bucks for dances, skins, custom outfits for their virtual alter egos. It's just stupid. The suit goes on to say the defendants use the same tactics as the creators of slot machines or variable reward programs. Wow, they are really trying to string together a stretch of by far the stupidest ideas I've ever heard to ensure the dependence of its users and the brain being manipulated to always want more. The suit alleges in a rough translation, children are particularly vulnerable to this manipulation since their self-control system in the brain is not developed enough. Case in point here, guys, I just want to leave my own comments. If that's the case, why don't you clowns, and that's what I'm calling these people, sue casinos? You see, when you sit down at a slot machine, or you bet money on the lottery, or you do any kind of menagerie of items to try and, win something, a hormone called dopamine is released into your brain. The pleasure center to kind of say, this is a reward for doing something good. So, and by sitting at the slot machine for longer periods of time, you're just increasing the pleasure hormone and eventually getting to the point where you just lose all self-control and spend wildly enormous gobs of money, forcing yourself into thousands of dollars worth of debt, potentially on your credit cards, possibly bankrupting you and your friends, your family in the process. How would I happen to know this? I happen to have first-hand experience. But that's as much as I'm going to say for legal reasons. So, don't worry, it had nothing to do with me specifically, but I happen to be like a first-party witness to some things. So, if that's the case, and casinos have been around for longer than a 4-year-old Fortnite game, maybe the real problem are the casinos. I've by far, this is the stupidest, class action lawsuit I've ever heard. Epic apparently has 30 days to respond to the legal action. The case could take up to a year or so. What in the world? Oh, the suit is based on the same legal basis as a Quebec Superior Court ruling in 2015 that determined that tobacco companies didn't warn the public about the dangers of smoking. It's apparently Epic's duty to issue similar warnings around the addictive nature of Fortnite. Last year, the World Health Organization classified gaming disorder as a diagnosable condition, giving mental health professionals a basis for getting extra money and identifying risks for, marks for additional lump sums of money. Anyways, I think this is entirely stupid. Apparently, the only reason is apparently there wasn't any warnings that this game could be addictive. I can understand to some extent the reasons why they want to do this, but I will always go back to the point saying maybe the parents should be more heavily invested in the lives of their children so that their children are well informed, and just maybe they should be the ones who grow up. At best, I'm actually wondering which is more childish, to sit and play a video game for fun and entertainment, or to sue a video game maker because apparently it's addictive as cocaine. Grow up. Jeez, it's just stupid. I don't know. I think I probably ranted on a little bit too much. Did it make sense at all? If it did, please give me a like. I thrive off of likes, and I don't look at the number, but it helps me measure if you guys are enjoying the show or not. So that's kind of the only indicator that I have outside of you guys leaving me a comment, which is also appreciated. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are on this whole entire stupid lawsuit. I think by far this is, I've seen stupid lawsuits before. This one is, you fell down a flight of steps, and then instead of just stopping, you decided you wanted to go down the rest of the flight of steps. You wanted to thump your head on the concrete wall, jump up and down just for good measure, and then blame it on somebody else, as if it's somebody else's problem. If that's the case, I don't know. Why don't you just be a monk on an island somewhere, and then you're never going to have to worry about something going on, because you're going to be in complete control of every single variable of the island that you live on, outside of weather conditions and food conditions, and you don't have to worry about socializing at all, and then you'll live the perfect life, and then you won't have to worry about, stuff like this, which you should have. It's just stupid. Anyways, those are my thoughts on it. I probably shouldn't say anything further on it. I'm probably going to get myself into trouble, but yeah. There you go. Good job, clowns. That's what I'm going to call them. Hey, parents, you do understand you're responsible for your children, right? Well, if you raise them right, you shouldn't have any reason to, complain when, oh, wait. You're responsible for your child always until they grow up. Okay, sounds good. All right, moving on to the next article we got lined up. I know, sorry, I had to rant a little bit because I'm getting sick and tired of this culture of suing companies over stupid reasons. But speaking of a reason to actually be sad over, it seems to be the beginning of the end of an era. If you are interested in the articles mentioned on today's show, head on over to TechNewsGadget.net. Guess iTunes, the once revolutionary app, is now gone in the latest Mac update. It's time to bid farewell to iTunes, the once revolutionary program that made online music sales mainstream and effectively blunted the impact of piracy. That assumes, of course, that you still use iTunes. Many people no longer do on iPhones. The functions have been long split into separate apps, at least for the last year and a half to 2 years, for music, video, and books, and music, and podcasts too. Mac computers followed suit on Monday with a software update called Catalina. Music subscription services like Spotify and Apple Music have largely supplanted both the iTunes software and sales of individual songs, which iTunes first made available for 99 cents a piece. Imagine that. That was way back when. Apple is now giving iTunes its latest push towards the grave. For anyone who has subscribed to Apple Music, the music store will now be hidden on the Mac, sidelining the all-in-one iTunes in favor of separate apps for music, video, and other services. Will let Apple build features for specific types of media and better promote its TV streaming and music services to help offset slowing sales of iPhones. So, all part of the plan. You kind of had to figure at one point they were going to have to break it up. It's just, it kind of sucks in one way, but in another way I can understand, because you can't kind of have this one big beast doing everything. Technically you could, if you built the OS or the base app software right, you could just plug in features into it, I'm figuring, which would be fine, and then just update those as time goes along, leaving the base app by itself. But it was probably more difficult to recode everything from the ground up, integrating all of this stuff, than to just, I don't know, split them apart and then keep them separate. But yeah, keep in mind, Apple launched its iTunes Music Store in 2003, 2 years after the iPod's debut, with simple pricing at launch, 99 cents for a single and $10 for most albums. Many consumers were content to buy music legally rather than seek out sketchy sites for pirated downloads. But over time, iTunes software expanded to include podcasts, ebooks, audiobooks, movies, and TV shows. So, yeah, it's quite an iconic run that iTunes has had. It's, man, it almost feels like forever in terms of the internet years, but yeah, it's only 2003. But yeah, time and technology march on. And finally, we got some gadget news for you guys. Who here is excited about the MSI's Alpha 15 gaming laptop? Well, got some news for you, and I got photos to boot. So if you're not watching this via video, you know where to find it, youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. But I understand most of you like listening to this via the podcast. So when you want to, feel free to check out the article links at the end of the show. AMD revealed its new Radeon RX 5500 series graphics cards today, bringing the cutting-edge features found in its Radeon RX 5700 series to the masses with a focus on 1080p gaming. In an unusual twist, AMD's new GPU is debuting in pre-built PC systems first, including an intriguing all-AMD... Ooh, you say those words and you get me interested immediately. Sorry, Intel. It's a personal preference. An all-AMD gaming laptop introduced today, MSI's Alpha 15. It's packing the Radeon RX 5500 graphics, obviously, along with the Ryzen 7 3750H processor and a blazing fast 15.6-inch 144Hz FreeSync panel for stutter-free, buttery smooth mobile gaming. Better yet, this notebook clocks in at a very attractive price for those of you interested, costing just under $1,000 for a version with 8 gigs of RAM, or, well, you can upgrade it to 1100 for a 16 gigabyte model. Excuse me just a second. I'm still sick, so I have to cough sometime. I don't want to cough into the mic. Pretty aggressive considering that laptops packing NVIDIA's GeForce GTX 1650 graphics can sometimes sell for roughly around the same price, and AMD claims that the mobile Radeon RX 5500 is considerably faster than its rival. No independent testers have verified the claim yet, however. They do have an image here with AMD showing it compared to, well, the GTX 1650 mobile, showing it performing considerably better than his counterpart in Monster Hunter World, Borderlands 3, Division 2, Sid Meier's Civilization 6, World War Z, Battlefield 5, World of Warcraft, the latest one, PUBG, and Apex Legends. So, if you're interested in the specs for the MSI Alpha 15, processor is up to an AMD Ryzen 7 3750H. Graphics is an AMD Radeon RX 5500M, 4 gigs of GDDR6. The display is a 15.6-inch FHD 1920 by 1080. Keyboard is a per-key RGB keyboard by SteelSeries, optional, but if you're interested in the looks of the colors, you can basically have every single key a different color. Storage is a looks like you'll be able to put an SSD combo slot in with a hard drive as well. Audio is high-res audio. MSI says that its Dynaudio giant speaker was built for gaming, boasting a chamber 5 times larger than traditional laptops. Taking up almost a quarter of the chassis, the speaker system pumps out impressive surround sound at higher volumes and with better clarity, without sacrificing base, according to the press release. While we've yet to see how the Radeon RX 5500 performs in the real world, landing a laptop win like this out of the gate is kind of a huge deal for AMD. Radeon GPUs and Ryzen CPUs are on the upswing, but still a rarity in the mobile world where Intel chips and NVIDIA GPUs reign supreme. Between this and the Ryzen-powered Microsoft Surface laptop, well, it's kind of been a beatdown a little bit for AMD, but then bringing this all up together, there's a lot of beating up going on. Look for the MSI Alpha 15 to land on store shelves in mid to late October. As part of AMD's Raise the Game promotion, if you're interested, buyers will receive a free copy of either Ghost Recon Breakpoint or Borderlands 3 with their purchase. And obviously PC World here is recommending Borderlands 3. But yeah, keep an eye out if you're interested in the MSI's latest laptop. Look at that. Wait, is there an image I can get, a bigger image? Oh, this is the only one. Nope, didn't want that one either. Nope, apparently not. So, yep, there you have it. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the Latest in Tech News. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes every weekday. Latest in Tech News can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. Now, if you enjoyed this episode and you're watching via YouTube, hit that like button down below and leave a comment if you don't mind. Also, double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode, and be sure to share this episode with a friend. I'm your host, Taylor Merrick, and remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much, keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.